So, hey guys, how is it all going? It is Footyman03 here, and today we are doing the third episode of AJ Predicts. Last week I went 13-3 on the season, and it's one of the best weeks I've had. The only games I got wrong were the Bengals, Cowboys, so I went 12-4, my mistake. So, Bengals haven't scored a touchdown yet. Dallas had its worst game of the season. We know that the New York Giants aren't going to be much competition this year. And the Titans finally wanted to play some football. So a lot happened in week 2. So let's get started to Thursday night football. And it's the San Francisco 69ers taking on the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams are going to win this game. Even though they lost to the Redskins, so to the Hayden Raymonds, I still think that they're going to win the game. Even though the 49ers are garbage, they haven't scored a touchdown either. Moving on to the London game now between the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Baltimore Ravens. The Jaguars were good week 1, crap week 2. I don't see that happening. I see that their trend of being crap is going to continue. Ravens will win. Moving into the early Monday games, it is the Buffalo Bills taking on the Denver Donkeys. And the Denver Broncos surprised me last week because they put in a really decent performance against my Cowboys, which we're not going to go into. The only thing I am going to go into is Ezekiel Elliott, because just give him a 1-game suspension for that, because they should just give him one of his suspension games because he did nothing anyway. So anyway, the Denver Donkeys will win. Next up, the Chicago Bears taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is going to be a slaughter, ladies and gentlemen. Pittsburgh will win. Antonio Brown and Ben Roethlisberger will destroy Mike Glennon. Poor Mike Glennon. Moving on to the Carolina Panthers taking on the New Orleans Saints. Panthers will win. They were sloppy against the Bills. That game was probably really sloppy. It only finished 9-3. So, I don't really see the Saints to be much of an issue. Even though they did hold the Patriots for a lot in that fourth quarter, it's still not going to be enough. Next game, the Minnesota Vikings taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Vikings were dreadful against the Steelers, whereas the Buccaneers were amazing against the Bears. But the Bears are nothing, so I'm going to tip the Vikings to win this game. Next up, the Indianapolis Colts taking on the Cleveland Browns. There is a rumour that Andrew Luck will play, but we're not too sure if he is going to play or not yet. Cleveland have been good, and I'm going to tip it. Browns will win. Next up, the New York Jets taking on the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins played good against the San Angeles Chokers, and they're going to win. The Dolphins. Next game, the New England Patriots taking on the J.J. Watt Houston Texans. And Patriots. Easy as that. Patriots will win. Because even though J.J. Watt is the NFL's version of Jesus, it's not going to be good enough, unfortunately. He's going to lose badly. The Texans don't have a good record against the Patriots. They got bummed out of the playoffs by Patriots, and they were thumped 27-0 on Thursday Night Football. So I don't expect much to happen there. Moving on now to one of the better games of the week. Detroit Lions taking on the Atlanta Falcons. This is not at their new stadium, even though my theory was right last week about Green Bay playing garbage in new stadiums. I'm the new Tony Romo of NFL. Get it? Because Tony Romo is really, really good at analyzing stuff on CBS. If you're not too sure what I mean, look it up. Tony Romo predicting plays. And you'll get what I mean. So, taking all this into consideration, Falcons will win. Next game, the Philadelphia Eagles taking on the New York Fuck the Giants. And the Eagles will win. Who would have thought? Philadelphia will win because the Giants played dreadful against Detroit and they played dreadful against Dallas. Moving on, the Tennessee Titans taking on the Seattle Seahawks. And in this game will be Seahawks. They're going to win this game, in my opinion. because even though the Titans had flogged the Jacksonville Jaguars, they beat the Jaguars, and Jaguars aren't that good, you see. Moving on, the Los Angeles Diego Chokers taking on the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Chiefs are going to win this game, even though last time these teams played, week 1 of last year, the Chiefs were held to overtime against the Chokers, even though they still choked. So I still think KC is going to win it, but it's going to be a very, very tight game. A little bit of an IMO. Next up, the Green Bay Packers taking on the North Korea Bengals. Now, what I mean by North Korean Bengals is they have so many weapons, yet they don't seem to work, because all Cincinnati do is talk about the weapons they have, but AJ Green, Andy Dalton, offensive line, garbage. But the Packers were the North Korea last week. They played garbage in Atlanta. They played really dreadful last week. The Packers, how dare they? They against the Falcons. And just to let somebody know, on a little trick, it was a 28-3 second half in the week 1 for the Patriots, and they came back, but they didn't want to come back this time. So anyway, Packers will win it. Next up, the Washington Hayden Raymond's taking on the Oakland Criminal Raiders, but the Raiders really aren't that criminal anymore. They're actually really, really good. Marshawn Lynch, Derek Carr, Amari Cooper, Khalil Mack, Michael Crabtree, they're finally falling into place. And if they can continue to do that, then the Raiders will probably be a long shot to win the Super Bowl. The Raiders will win it, in my opinion. Next up, Monday Night Football, Arizona Cardinals taking on the Dallas Cowboys. Now, my gut would be Cardinals, but you don't root against your own team. Cowboys for the win. So, going over my tips. The Rams to beat the 69ers. The Ravens to beat the Jaguars. The Donkeys to beat the Bills. The Steelers to beat the Bears. The Panthers to beat the Saints. The Vikings to beat the Buccaneers. The Browns to beat the Colts. The Dolphins against the Jets. The Patriots against the J.J. Watsons. The Lions to lose to Atlanta. The Eagles to beat the Giants. The Seahawks to beat the Titans. Chiefs to beat the Chokers. Packers defeat North Korea. Raiders defeat Hayden Raymond. And Cardinals will lose to Dallas. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed AJ Predicts for week number 3. And I'll see you next time. Take care. And bye-bye.